Hi, I just want to thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for the next 30 minutes and just sit back and be inspired. We have a jam-packed episode filled with lots of inspiration for you. And on this episode, I will be interviewing Mike Gugino. He is the band manager for The Resistance, which you can find them at facebook.com/resistancemusic. And he's also an industrial hygienicist, so that's actually surprising. I didn't know that about him for the many years that I've known him. So I'm excited for you to hear his many journeys of life, going through struggles in his marriage and adopting 2 daughters and just so much more. So please stay tuned. And I just want to thank you so much for driving all the way out here and being vulnerable to share your story.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Looking forward to it.
You know, we can take it back many years when I hosted Shasta's Teen Journal and he came on. Well, actually, you didn't even come on.
I wasn't on the show.
No,
I've never been on the show.
The band was on the show.
That's correct.
Got it. Well, Hey, let me tell you, this episode, feel free to speak Jesus the whole time.
All right.
Yep.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Sounds great.
There's no limitations for you.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So do you grow up like knowing Jesus, or is it something you kind of morphed into, slowly?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. Morphing into slowly was more of my journey. I grew up knowing about God. I knew about Jesus. And to me, there was never really a relationship. It was something you did on a Sunday. You talked about it once in a while. There were little snippets here and there, but nothing that you ever really brought home, really never internalized. And then slowly morphing is actually quite a good description, where some Christians will have, on this date, I became a Christian, and I remember exactly where I was. But for me, it was more of a slow morph. But I do remember one specific incident. I was in a band myself, and the bass player mentioned that he loved Jesus. And I'd been hearing it as I was in this Christian band, and it occurred to me, he really does love Jesus. What? I don't get that. And here it wasn't a Christian band. But it was interesting to see that, and then have that click in my mind that there is something more there, relationship-wise. So.
And how did it turn into more of a relationship rather than just an idea of this man who you're supposed to believe in?
Oh boy, that has to do with the study of his word. For me, it was listening a lot. And it was then slowly going to the Bible and diving in and discovering. And there was a movie years ago that called The Da Vinci Code. And oddly enough, that was one of the things that deepened my faith the most, because there were a lot of challenges to the Christian faith. I didn't know how to defend them, how to defend the Christian faith. And the Da Vinci Code was butting right up against it and challenging it. So I dove into apologetics that way and really came to know the Lord, who he was, how he was, what he wanted from us. And turns out he wanted a relationship, and that was fantastic.
I've never seen that movie, but there's some really great movies out there that really depict, the trials and tribulations that we go through and how to overcome them. And it's amazing to see, filmmakers and people in social media with a huge following really showing people Jesus through those platforms. And how do you feel that you're able to do just that through, your position as a band manager?
Yeah, well, for just a second, I never actually saw the Da Vinci Code myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Okay. Well, I guess I don't need to see it either.
But there were so many challenges, and they talked about it in church, and that's what the challenge is. What really got me.
Gotcha.
But the ability to share my faith through the band, it's been great. Because I deal in the music industry. A lot of it is Christian, but not all of it is. And so I'm able to show the love of Christ through my actions. Gosh, a great example just today. It seems like a setup, but it actually isn't. I had to take the high road in a particular business dealing. And it was negative in me. It cost me time and a little bit of money, but I know that God is blessing that, and He's done so before, where I did something that the world would frown upon, where the world might say, "Gosh, you were wronged in this particular scenario. You really should have done X, Y, Z." Well, where a Christian, a follower of Christ, would do A, B, C. This scenario, I did A, B, C, and I know that God will bless it. I really do.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah, he has in the past and he will again. That's the great thing.
Yep, absolutely. Besides being a band manager, though, once again, I didn't even know he was an industrial hygienicist until he sent me his bio, and I was like, oh, okay. So how do you have time to serve God and, make sure you have time for that relationship, also have time for your wife and kids, also have time to be a band manager, and then somehow be an industrial hygienicist?
Industrial hygiene. If your industry needs any hygiene, I can do that for you. That's just a small joke.
Gotcha.
But having a full-time job and being a band manager, it does take its toll on your time. So you give you give your family the most time of that, and you prioritize family first. The good news is the band that I manage right now consists of all family members.
Exactly. So
there you go. So I'm halfway home right there. And so your marriage comes first, then the children, and then professions after that. And I'm unbelievably blessed to be able to have a hobby that, as band management, it's a semi-profession that I can do with my children. And for instance, we just came back from Nashville. We recorded our next single in Nashville just last week.
And when does it come out?
It comes out in January. The single comes out in January. We'll finish the remainder of the EP in March, release that probably in June, tour in June, July. So,
well, just so you guys know, we are going to be having The Resistance on Shasta's Journey. I'm not going to release the date yet because we've still got some things to work out, but stay tuned for that.
Right, and we will be making a substantial announcement on your show, so be
So
ready.
it's important. So stay tuned, follow.
Be ready for that.
Yeah,
be ready for
can't
that.
miss it.
And the band is so excited. The changes that are coming are very positive, and we're so much looking forward to the new sound, and that's all I can say.
That's all good.
That's all I can say.
Stay tuned.
That's all I can say.
Well, how long have you been with the band? So have you been with them since they started? Have you always been the band manager?
I was the original guitar player, and then I aged out.
No.
Yes.
I didn't know that either. Wow, we're just full of fun facts today. I didn't even know.
They kicked me out of the band in the most loving way possible.
Okay.
They said, "Dad, get
You
out
got
of here."
the boot.
Yeah, I got the boot. I aged out. So I became the manager, and I've been with the band since before they were able to carry their own amplifiers. So now they're carrying their own equipment, which is fantastic.
I see.
Yeah, so it's been 11 years. 11 years.
And through all of that, you've also been through some hardships. You have.
Right. That's correct.
So how have you overcome such things that you've mentioned to me, such as problems in your marriage?
Yeah. Before my wife and I married as people who didn't know Jesus Christ. And when I look back on those two people, they seem like other people. Christ makes you new from the inside, and that is so true. Like I say, I look back on the two people that were married and became us. I really feel for those people because they didn't know where they were going in that marriage. It was all about whose will could be imposed on the other person, and it would be a one-upsmanship type of situation.
This was still the whole morphing thing that was still happening.
This is definitely pre-morph.
Okay.
Pre-morph, and then wisdom kicks in. The Bible gives you so much wisdom in so many different areas. You can apply it in every area of your life, and it's just an amazing book. It was loaded with so much information and wisdom. And you apply that in your marriage, and you make God the center of your marriage. And that's what we were not doing. In our marriage, we were trying to be number one. I was trying to be number one. She was trying to be number one. And it was a constant battle. And frankly, it was exhausting. And it
I
got
can
to a point
imagine.
where it was time to call the attorneys. And she had shut down. I was still trying to pour my, quote, wisdom into the situation where it had failed before. I made one of those desperate prayers that you hear about, and God answered that prayer in just amazing ways. I think about it still today. It's just amazing what He did. He fixed something that was that could not be repaired.
He miraculously healed and restored that marriage. And I have personally seen God do that, and it is incredible. It's amazing. It
It
really, really
is.
is. When you hand over your problems and your worries, and this is something I still have to work on, but when you hand it over, what He can do with that, it's
Yeah.
mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing.
It really is. And when He's the center of your marriage or the focus of your just daily life or your whatever industry it is that you're working in, you make Him the focus. He'll guide you. Like the situation I had today. Long story short, to take the high road. That's what Christ. I did what I think Christ would have done in this particular scenario. Like I say, God has blessed those situations before where I've taken the high road, done what I feel Christ would have wanted me to do, what Christ would have done. I'm not a big fan of bumper sticker theology, but I do every once in a while say, "What would Jesus do?"
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's what I did and did today. I've done it before. God has blessed it over and over and over again.
Because you've overcome it, I'm going to ask you this.
Sure.
What advice do you have for relationships and people who are struggling, whether they know Christ or not, and they're struggling in their marriage? Because you are a fine example that you do not have to be a part of the statistics that our society sees each and every day, and where marriage has lost its meaning and it's just a piece of paper. But it's so much more than that. So what advice do you have for the couples who know Christ or who have not found Christ to really get to that point of, restoration?
Right. For the couples who have not found Christ, you've got to put your partner first above your needs and really think about what it is that they need, because when that person becomes more a stronger person, a more whole person, that boosts the marriage. And the sum of those two parts becomes the sum of those two parts become greater. And when you know Christ, you can put Him at the center of the marriage, and so you're focused on Him. You're focused on what He wants for your marriage, in the way of finances, or how to live your life, or where to live your life, what field you go into, how much priority you put into this or that, and it's. God does restore. You mentioned that He restores, and He does indeed restore. He takes things that are broken and makes them beautiful again. And our marriage hasn't been perfect ever since, but it's been an amazing trajectory upward.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. We've got our two boys that are in the band, and they are 24 and 21, amazingly. My 21-year-old is married. And we adopted our two little daughters from China. That's been an amazing journey.
They're literally the cutest.
They are the
cutest.
They are the cutest. I'll give you that. And they're just amazing little girls. And but that had its own struggles and of doubt. Some doubt creeped in, and God adopts us into His family, and that's what He wants in for you, and we did the same thing. James 1:27, a pure religion is to take care of the widows and the orphans, and it's
That hits me so close to home.
Yeah.
Because I go to Mexico and I serve and I take care of orphans, and
Right.
it's important. Somebody's got to do it.
Right, and that is a pure religion. God loves it. God blesses it. The world, while we were adopting, the world, a number of people told me, "You're crazy. You're close to retirement. Why are you doing this? This is nuts. How much does it cost?" And they weigh the cost in financial figures. And I think about I think about the orphans. What is their cost? And what does God want? What does God call us to do? And what is He calling me to do specifically? And not everybody can adopt, and that's fine, because when we went to China, we saw a number of missions that were over there, ministries that were over there that were American citizens formerly, and now they're over there. And I thought to myself, look at the amount of good they're doing here. I'm doing, relatively speaking, nothing. I'm just adopting one child. They have a room full of children that were rejected. This one specific ministry. Oh gosh, I wish I could remember their name. Here, I've got a chance to speak to lots of people. This one particular ministry would go to the orphanages around China and ask, "Give me your worst case scenario child," and they would show them love that they would not be able to receive in the orphanage. And that, and then I look at me adopting only one child, and I'm thinking, I'm not doing anything. But God didn't call me to do that. And so everybody has their own calling. So even if you aren't adopting a child, there's foster care, there's support that you can give to an adoptive family. There's a lot of stress involved. So if you can take the children for a certain amount of time, or a single mother, where you say, "I'll babysit your child," go out to the movies. Here's 2 tickets. Take one of your friends to go to the movies. I'll watch your kids for you. There's so many things that you could do in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
and God will bless it every time. He always has. He always will.
Couldn't agree more. You actually mentioned, when I was asking you what advice do you have for couples who are experiencing problems in their relationship, and you said, if they don't know Christ, they need to put their partner first, right? And so the world usually tells us to put ourselves first.
That's right.
Like think about yourself first. And oh my gosh, when you said that, it was so eye-opening, because looking through the lens of Jesus, we are called to love our neighbors more than ourselves. And we're called to love Jesus before that. And so I loved what you said, even for people who are not believers, to put their partners first. That is a step in the right direction of becoming selfless and becoming more Christ-like, with or without knowing it. So I just had to tell you that was totally eye-opening. And
yeah, that is a great piece of advice, of course, that you get from the Bible, but don't tell the non-believer where it comes from. But it's a great piece of advice, because again, as your partner becomes stronger, the marriage becomes stronger, and the relationship is more fruitful and has benefits all the way around, from the relationship between the husband and the wife, to the children, to the example that they're setting for their children that will impact future generations. That's great advice.
And when it comes to the whole adoption, how have you seen God bless your life since adopting your 2 little girls?
Oh boy. Gosh, I'll see if I can talk about them without tearing up. How have my life been blessed? Immeasurably. Just the amount of love that they have for just for the world, and gosh. They have just such a tremendous amount of love that comes out of them, and it's the love of Christ that hopefully we're pouring into them, and Christ pours into them, and they're just vessels, and it just spills out of them. They are, and we're able to witness to people. One of my favorite things is that they say, "Where are your daughters from?" I say, "Well, China." And then I say, "I don't know why God put my daughters all the way over in China, but we had to go get them, and they've been such a blessing." And then you launch into an evangelical type of situation. They've been a blessing in so many ways. They go preach the word of Jesus in the schools, and
I'm so excited to see how God continues to use them.
It's fantastic.
Exciting. And how old are they again?
Anna is 11 years old. And Ariana is 8, and they're both special needs.
Are they sisters? or are they?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they're not biological sisters, but they are both special needs. Anna has a small ear that she
Wow.
loves to talk about. That's her special ear. God made her that way, and she loves that.
Wow.
And she is just unbelievably intelligent. Yesterday we went to the library, and she was so excited that we were going to the library. I thought there's something wrong with her because no one should be that excited to go to the library. And Ariana is a woman, hear me roar, and she is funny. We adopted her when she was 3. So she was speaking Chinese, and of course we spoke no Chinese. And
Do you speak a little Chinese now, or?
nah, just the basics.
Are you keeping the girls, like, are you still trying to keep that tradition, like their inheritance with them?
Yeah, we do. That's the neat thing about adopting from international is that you get to learn the culture, you immerse yourself in the culture, you get to travel there. And when you're there, you learn all you can about the province from which they came. That way you can tell them about that and take as many photographs as possible. But yes, we do. We tried to teach them Chinese, but we didn't have any supportive conversation anywhere. So it was just between among the 4 of us, and we were probably saying it wrong anyway.
You too.
Right. But we do celebrate all the Chinese New Year's and the red envelopes
awesome.
and the dragon thing and everything in China.
The dragon thing.
Yeah, the
I love
dragon thing. That's highly technical. Yeah.
Yeah.
But everything in China is red, and everything that red is lucky, and all of that. But yeah, they're incredible little girls. And so, in fact, Ariana adopted at 3. She would speak Chinese to us, and we would try to speak a little bit. So she would sit on my lap and just go to town and start talking. Nom, 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 nom. And I don't know what you're saying.
Well, I love
but
that.
It's cute.
You know, it reminds me of whenever I went to Mexico and when I didn't know any Spanish whatsoever. I know a little bit now, but the orphans would sit there and just speak to me, and they would like whisper things in my ear, and I would have no idea what they're saying, and I'm just like, oh, like. Even if you didn't understand what they're saying, like God's using that interaction. Like,
Sure.
You know, love is the strongest form of communication. So,
Sure.
And that's what I always kept reminding myself is like, don't let that language barrier stop you. You know, there's even, you know, people within our communities that don't speak the same language as us, but that doesn't mean that should stop us from, you know, trying to bless them and, you know, show them love. I know I always try making a point whenever I'm somewhere and you know, you could pick up when people are speaking Spanish. And like the one thing that I know for sure how to say is God bless you.
Oh,
so
good.
I always
That's
say
a
that
good one.
in Spanish. Like, even if I don't like say hi or anything, I'm just like, Dios le bendiga. And, you know, and most of them are really receptive of that. So even though little things like that, I mean, it's a world changer.
Right. And they know the sincerity with which you say that. And they can see God's love coming out of that. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. As He pours into you, you pour out to them, and it's there. And oftentimes it's the Holy Spirit in you recognizing itself in someone else, and it's a wonderful thing. But it is neat. As I can imagine, as those kids whisper in your ears, they're probably thinking, "Why isn't she getting this? What's the matter with this woman here?"
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
But the love that comes out of you, you know, I'm sure it speaks volumes.
Same to you. You know, if somebody's interested or, you know, feels led or feels a tug on their heart to really start pursuing the option of adoption. Wow, that just totally rhymed. But
Sure.
How should people do that? How should they go about that?
One of the in Sacramento, there's Hope International, and they are a big organization. And then our inspiration for adoption from China was Stephen Curtis Chapman. Being in the music industry, I got to personally thank him for. I know it was fantastic. Oh, that was a highlight.
I bet.
They have Maria's House of Hope, I believe. But if you go to Stephen Curtis Chapman's website, I'm 100% sure they're so big into adoption promotion, and you'll easily find whatever it is you're looking for. They've got a great program. And there are lots of, but Holt International is a good one. All God's Children is who we used.
Okay.
They're out of Washington, All God's Children International. And the local foster adoption or FOSADOPT is really big in California. We do a lot of work in that, actually. My wife and I, we're host families. So when families, I know my wife gets us into all these things.
No, you know what? I love it. I want to thank you for doing what God puts on your heart, because, if you don't listen to your callings and you completely ignore it, that thing is not getting done. God wants to use you for a specific thing. So if you feel led or something on your heart, or if there's a gift that you're hiding and you just don't want to show it to the world, God gave you that for a reason. So don't be hesitant. Use it, because you're not guaranteed tomorrow.
That's right.
You never know when you're going to take your last breath. So don't hold it off.
Yeah, that's right. And when you use your gifts to glorify God, He will bless it. He will bless it. Just ask that you are using the gift according to His will. Ask Him to lead you. I do. I really do. I do this constantly with the band. God, if this is not your plan for this band, if this, whatever door's open here, if this is not of your will, please close that door. And sometimes He does. And sometimes I'll dare God. I'm walking through this door.
I do the same thing.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And so when we're in His will, just amazing things happen. We've been so privileged to work with such great people, not the least of which was Nashville last week, which was amazing. Oh. So I'm so excited. I can't wait to bring the band back.
I can't wait either.
We can make this announcement.
Awesome.
It's gonna be great.
Guys, I don't even really know the announcement, so
no, she doesn't.
Exciting.
She doesn't know the announcement. No, she doesn't know.
But let me tell you something. We have their Facebook page, and you should go follow them. And you want to know why? Because you get behind the scenes of everything. And every Friday, if you send them your address and email, you can get
your zip code.
Yes, and your zip code, and then you get put into this drawing. And
every Friday we give away a CD. Can I look at the camera?
Yeah, I think it's that camera.
Which one? Every Friday we're giving away a CD, and then you're entered into a drawing for a free electric guitar that's going to be given away when we release our new CD.
Yeah, so seriously, stuff you can't miss. You get to see pictures of them, tired, really, really tired, working really, really hard.
That's right.
Yeah, no, you get to just see it all. And it's amazing to see how God is moving and working through the resistance. And I'm just so excited that Mike is more than willing to be in front of the camera and, come out. I ain't booting him, so.
and it was neat to be in front of the camera. I really enjoyed it. Are we almost done?
We are. We're actually running out of time. It's such a bummer, huh?
Yeah. You mentioned that it was going to go by like that, and it
really
didn't go by like that.
It really does. I really hope you guys stuck around, because if you didn't stick around, then you didn't get to hear the announcement of having a chance to win a guitar. So
that's right.
Hopefully you stuck around. And we're actually going to pop in a video of its cute little daughters. So just hold on for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm Ari. Be sure to watch every Shasta's Journey episode on TV. And be sure to follow her on Facebook and Instagram. We love you. Bye!
I just want to thank you so much for being on the show, Mike.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. Like I said, I can't wait for the band to get here.
Me neither. Me neither, guys. Continue to follow Shasta's Journey, because you do not want to miss the Resistance making a special appearance on Shasta's Journey and announcing something big. So please stay tuned. Feel free to share your story at shastasjourney.com or facebook.com/shastasjourney. We want to hear it. You have something to share that can teach or inspire somebody, so don't let that stop you. Please, please, please go and share your story and watch other episodes on youtube.com/shastasjourney as well. And I hope you guys are abundantly blessed.